Okay, so this whole bag is fully primed. I got about 500 from this one, so we should have about 1,500 in the reservoir. You can see at the level, it's right about 1,500. So that's right where you want to be. Before I showed priming the AV loop, I want to also show the modified fluid drop, because that's one of the things that Harry wants us to do before we actually prime the AV loop. It's a step you do while your fluid is still in the reservoir, so it's not in the AV loop yet. So what you want to do is keep this clamped, and then when you go to your AV loop here, you want to turn this to the 6 and 12 o'clock position, and what you want to do is you want to increase your occlusion all the way. So I'm really having to push here. So that's pretty much fully occluded. We can see here that fluid's not going anywhere. The reason I'm doing this is because, yes, I have this clamp stopping it, but when I take this off, I don't want this fluid to go anywhere. And the thing that's stopping it from going anywhere is the fact that it's clamped right here. So this is the modified fluid drop. This is a method for setting your arterial occlusion. So now that I'm fully clamped here, I can take this clamp off and the fluid shouldn't move. So you can see it moves a little bit. We got a little bit of air here, so I think in the video Harry was saying try and get that fluid back up to the reservoir, so it's in this little air column here. So this looks pretty good. And another thing here is what we're going to do is we're going to set the occlusion, and what we want is I want to decrease this occlusion until I start to see this fluid level slowly increase. And the reason why it's going to move is because I have this gradient here, so this level is much higher than this level, so this sort of like elevation gradient is going to make this fluid want to travel down here, and that's going to move the fluid up until they're about level. So then what you do, and again, you want to keep track of what head you're doing. So I'm doing the non-taped head, so I'm going to focus on this one first, and you're just going to slowly decrease the occlusion and watch the fluid level until you start to see it rise like ever so slightly. This is where you start to get kind of cross-eyed, as I mentioned before. I'm just slowly decreasing occlusion. Oh, see it now, it's starting to move. And so then with arterial, we want to be just under occlusive. So I found the setting that I'm at, so I'm gonna go back one and then go forward, because the last move that I did was a loosen, and when you end with a loosen, you want to loosen again and then tighten again. Okay, great. So this occlusion for this head is good, so now we can do the other one. So I'm going to switch from this head to the other head. Now when I switch from this head to this head, what you want to do is you want to roll the roller head clockwise, because if I roll it counterclockwise, that's going to suck this fluid up further, and I might get to the point where now this fluid level is higher than this fluid level, so I don't have that elevation gradient that I was talking about earlier. But if I go clockwise and send this backwards, I'm still going to maintain my elevation gradient like you want. So I'm going to go ahead, rotate here. I'm going to get this one to the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock position, and I'm going to watch this. So you can see this one is not moving at all. So what that means is that the other one, the other roller head that I just set, that is the looser head, and you always set your occlusion to the looser head. So since this one's not moving, I don't need to do anything. If this one was moving faster than the other one was moving, this one is the looser head, and now I need to set my occlusion for this one. But since we're here, we're all good. Okay. So that's the modified fluid drop. So we're good there. So now we can just prime our AV circuit, our AV loop. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this. Now priming the AV loop is very simple. You just want to get all this fluid, well, not all of it, you just want enough to where you can fill every part of your AV loop so that every part of it has fluid, and ideally there's no air. So with roller clamps, you have to turn the RPMs and actually force the fluid to go through. I'm gonna go ahead and do that really slowly. And I'm gonna open one of these vents because I don't want too much pressure to build up in the venous reservoir. I don't know if that's something you actually have to do, But I'm gonna do that just to not build up pressure in the venous reservoir. So I'm gonna leave these open so we have some circulation. And then I'm just watching the fluid. So you can see there's air coming out of here. So that's good. This line's getting primed. You can see the air coming out of here. We're starting to make our way here to the sash. So we can see that air getting removed. And we wanna send it to the top of the venous reservoir because there's all this air here. So any air you have in your AV loop, you wanna send it to the venous reservoir where there's already air. So I'm just gonna run this. I'm gonna speed it up a little bit. You can see all the air starting to get out. And again, we're bypassing the arterial line filter, so fluid's just going straight through here. We're gonna worry about this later. Okay, so this looks pretty good. I'm gonna shut this off, and now that I'm done, I'm just gonna go ahead and check every part of the AV loop. So I'm not seeing any air bubbles here. This is all primed. We're going around here, down into the oxygenator. This is the oxygenator outlet coming out through here, bypassing the ALF. We're going in here. It's always a good idea to give this kind of a shake because sometimes bubbles can kind of accumulate there. And then this is just gonna drain back. Oh, you can see that big bubble there. So you wanna, air rises, so you wanna try and force that out. Since it's not going, I'm just gonna turn the RPMs up and it gets forced out right there. This cardioplegia line's primed. And yeah, that's how you prime the AV loop.